So I'm making it's not really going to be a tutorial on how to make a hammock, but just kind of show some of the steps to make the hammock. I cut the fabric last night. This hammock is going to be 11.5 feet long instead of 11 feet. And the material we have is wide material. It's about 74 inches, where most material is 58 to 60 inches wide. The reason this hammock is so long and so wide is the person that's going to be using it is 6'5". They say basically um, person up to about 6'2" can fit fine on a 11-foot hammock, but over 6'2" need to go a little bit longer. So with this being 11.5 and so wide, even somebody 6'5" is going to have enough room to lay diagonally. For me, this thing would swallow me up. But the fabric, this is the outer layer, will be hex 2.2, which has a weight rating of 400 pounds, and the inner layer is a 1.6 Hyper D XL. So they're both about 74 inches wide. And like I said, I got them cut last night, and then I'm now this morning I'm starting to do all the pinning and everything, get it all pinned in place so I can start sewing it and mark out where everything goes and all that good stuff. So just to give you an idea of how big this fabric is, I don't have it all stretched out yet, but I mean it's going to be a really wide hammock, and I don't have the length stretched out. I'm going to pin the top half of it and then slide it up, and do the bottom half of it when I pin it up. Okay, to kind of show you, give you an idea of what goes into making these hammocks. Um, First, I had to get the gross gain and measure it out to get all the stuff for the tie outs and everything, get all that stuff ready. And another thing we had to do is that we always do when we're making a hammock is we have to make all the stuff. We have this is the ridge line. It's going to be, normally our ridge lines are 110 inches long for an 11-foot hammock, but this is this is an 11.5-foot hammock, so I can't remember exactly, but I think it's a 114-inch ridge line. So my wife did all the braiding on this, braided it just like a normal ridge line. It's got Brahma locks on the end so the loops won't come out. So had to make the ridge line and then the continuous loops. Instead of normal continuous loops, this is going to have a cinch buckle on it. So what you have to do is take the cord, wrap it around the cinch buckle, and then do your braiding. And same thing, it's got a Brahma lock on it and everything to keep it from coming undone. And this braiding basically makes it work like a Chinese finger cuff. You know, the old finger cuffs, when you pull them tight, they won't come apart. And then the Brahma lock is so like a Chinese finger cuff. Once you push it together, you can pull your fingers right out. The Brahma lock is to kind of keep that from happening on these. It's going to have a red one on the head end and gray on the foot. So, so you'll know which end is the head end, red is head. It's an easy way to remember it. And this one's going to have a zippered bug net on it. So the way this is going to be done, it's going to be sewn in place on the foot end, and then the zipper is going to come up and around the head end, and then go back down to the foot end. So it's going to have two zippers on each side. You've got zipper pulls on the outside and inside, so you can move these anywhere you want to along. Say, for example, this is the right side. You can position the zippers anywhere along the hammocks that you want to. Same thing on the left. It's got zippers on both sides, and you can position these anywhere. Some hammocks with zippered bug nuts, the zippers stop. They have two zippers that overlap on each side. So to close it, you have to go down to that point, and sometimes that could be kind of awkward to reach to, depending on where you're laying and where it stops at and everything. This will give you the freedom to position the zippers anywhere that you want once you get in there. That way they're nice and easy to reach and get in and out. And the way this is going to work is with the 4 zippers. If you want to take the hammock off, the bug net off the hammock, it's not completely removable, it's sewn on the bottom, but if you want to get the bug net out of your way, you're not going to use it or whatever, then you can zip all 4 of these down. Like if this was the end of the hammock, have all 4 of them down there, and then and then the bug net's going to be sewn through here. So to remove it, you take one of these zippers. You could do it from either side. Take one of these zippers and zip it all the way around to the other side, and then now with the bug net on here, you could take it down to the foot end, which will have a triangle on the end of it, and underneath the triangle will be a stuff sack. So you could take this whole bug net and stuff it in that stuff sack, and it's out of your way. And then this, of course, is going to be sewn into the hammock, this bottom piece of the zipper tape. Decide you want to use it again, just pull out your whole bug net. It'll be laying on top of the ridge line, and then zip the one zipper back over here again. And now your bug net's completely on, and you can use it. You can open it up, get in and out, close it, everything. You'll see a little bit better once I get to the step of sewing it on. Be able to understand a little bit better. Got all my pins and clips. I like using these clips a little bit better. They're for like clipping paper, and I prefer to use them instead of pins anytime I can, because pins leave holes, not only in the fabric but in my fingers and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to get all this pinned together, and I'll be taking pictures, taking little video clips along the way as I make this hammock to kind of give you an idea of how it's done. And then I will, it's early in the morning and I haven't had enough caffeine yet. So we're making video clips and everything, and like I said, it's not going to be a tutorial step-by-step on how to make it, but it's going to be kind of a step-by-step. This is what goes into making a hammock. Okay, so I'm calling this hammock the math hammock because there's going to be a lot of math going into it. So what I normally do when I make a double layered hammock without a bug net is, right now I have the fabric laying where the 2 good sides are touching each other, and I will run a seam down each side of it, run a row of stitches down each side of it, and then turn it inside out, and then sew up the 2 stitches down each side. So once it's turned inside out, you're actually going through 4 layers of material for your 2 rows of stitches, and it makes it pretty strong. But on this particular hammock, it's going to have a pad opening, which I've done before on double layered fabric, and it's going to have so what I'll have to do is I'll have to measure down to where each one of these pullouts are going to go and mark that, so I'll be able to put them in place. I'll have to measure where my pad opening is going to be and mark that, and there's going to be, since this is so wide of a fabric, it's going to have a pad opening to actually stick your pad through, but then it's also going to have an opening at the other end so you can reach your hand up in there, because it's got so much fabric, and be able to help move the pad, get the pad positioned right. One of the things that's making this more difficult is with the zippered bug net, I had to figure out a few things. Of course, I had to figure out how big my triangle is going to be, but instead of a straight cut triangle, I had to figure out how this loop needs to be, because if where it comes out of the hammock, this is going to be sitting over the ridge line, and where the zipper comes out of the hammock and comes and makes this curve and goes back down, the curve, the angles on the curve had to be right. Otherwise, your zipper is going to bind when it catches up here. So it took a little bit of work and trying and experimenting to get that right, so that it'd be nice and smooth, and you just come up on around, up over the ridge line. This would be sewn to the triangle, up on the ridge line and over, and back down the other side. That took some figuring out to get that done. And one thing, and the big, so that was a part of the reason why I call this the math hammock. And the other big reason is the easiest way to do this would be to do like I do a normal double layered hammock. Got the two good sides touching. I put a roll of stitches down each side, turn it right side out, and then finish sewing up the hammock. I could build the hammock and then attach the zipper tape to it. And then just like if this was the inside of the hammock, just attach the zipper tape right along here, and then now you've got your zipper on there, and then attach the bug net to this half of the zipper tape. That would be the easy way to do it. But I don't want to do it the easy way for two reasons. First of all, looks. I think it would look better with the zipper tape actually in between the two layers. And I'm just a glutton for punishment, I guess. I don't know. So, but I just think it'll look a lot more professional and everything, and be stronger. Because when it's done, when I sew this stitch down through here initially with this two good sides touching, and then I flip it right side out, now both of these layers are going to be folded over right here on the seam, and then the zipper tape is going to be in between them. So you're actually going to be going through 4 layers of material, and the zipper tape, so it's going to be nice and strong. And like I said, with the math involved, what I have to do is I'll have to position this and make sure the zipper tape's facing the right way, because this is going to be the outer layer and this is going to be the inner layer. So I have to make sure the zipper tape's facing the right way, and then it's going to be sewn like this. So whenever I go through and sew this set of stitching, it's going to catch the 2 layers of material and the zipper tape. And once the hammock's folded inside out, I'll go ahead and put the other 2 lines of stitching down there, which will sew through all 4 layers and the zipper tape, and it'll be nice and strong and look good. But the math that's involved in it is not only do I have to figure out where the pad openings are going to be, where all my pull-outs are going to be, and all that kind of stuff, but I have to position the zipper tape in place so that most of the way it's going to be sewn right along, basically along the edge. It'll be up a little bit higher, but basically along the edge. And then it's going to have to come out of this seam, like down here, towards if this was a head end, it's going to have to come out of the seam and then curve, like the way it makes this curve, goes up over the ridge line and then back down again. It's going to have to come out of the seam at some point, and then I'll continue. I'll have it pinned like that, and I'll continue my row of stitches down here. And where it comes out of the seam, so it'll be laid in here like this, in between the 2 layers, and then at some point it's going to have to come out, and then I'll run my row of stitching and keep going straight. So I have to make sure not only that it comes out when I do my initial stitching, that it comes out in the right spot so that it'll be able to match up with this triangle. But I'll also have to make sure that whenever I make this bend and have it start coming out, that it comes out at the right angle to match the angle that I've got on this. And unfortunately, I've only got one shot to get it right, because when I make that roll of stitching, and then also when it comes out, I have to make sure I got the exact right amount of zipper tape to run over there and go back into the hammock on the other side. So everything's got to be right. I got one shot because when I do that first row of stitching, and then I take the whatever tape I've allowed to go over that arch, and then come back into the hammock. It's got to come back into the hammock at the right angle and be sewn down that side. So I'm not going to know if it's right, completely perfect, until I get those 2 rows of stitching down, the zipper tape's all in there, and then I turn the hammock inside out and then take a look at it and make sure the zipper's operating and everything. And all in another part of the calculating in this is it's going to have a 2-inch road hem on each end. So I've got to kind of do that and then mark where it's going to be at and then make all my measurements from there to do this. So yeah, it's a lot of math, a lot of calculating, a lot of guessing and hoping, and I got one shot to do it right. It's a lot of extra work. I could take the hammock and make it just make the hammock and add the zipper tape to it, and then do the bug net, and it'd be a whole lot easier. And there's not so much figuring out involved. You can just basically start at one end and start pinning the zipper tape along, and then you're done. Just go and sew it up. But this way it's going to look a lot better. It's going to be stronger. And it's all the little details. That's what I really care about when I do anything, making sure all the little details are right. I'm sure I could make this hammock and sew the zipper tape on the inside, and he'd be completely happy with it and get many years of use out of it. But I think the details and the way it's going to look when it's done, even though doing all this extra work, and anybody that looks at it won't even give it a second thought that there was that much thought put into it or work put into it. But I'll know that it was all worth it because of the way it looks. And it is a lot easier just to make a hammock and then just add the zipper tape to it and be done with it. But I don't know. So the way I'm going to do it later today, I will probably be inventing some new cuss words and all that kind of stuff. And but I'll make some more video clips along the way as I finish this up. Okay, so I got this part marked, and what I did was I marked the where the undercloth hooks are going to be, tie outs, all that kind of stuff, where my zipper tape's going to come out of the hammock and go across the triangle here. I'll give you a little bit better view of what I'm doing. Okay, so I got the blue tape is it's marked on there, the exact spot on the tape where the underquilt hooks and tie outs and stuff are going to go. And then I've also written, whether it's a pull out or an underquilt hook or whatever, so that'll help out. So I don't put the wrong thing in the wrong place. And then over here, what's going to happen is I can't sew the zipper tape right onto the end, which would be nice to keep it all nice and straight and perfect. Easier to do that anyway. I have to have the zipper tape up a little bit because where the pad opening is going to be, and I still got to mark the pad opening. I just thought about that, but where the pad opening's got to be with this extra material, like this hammock is inside out right now. But where this extra material is, I'm going to have to do a rolled hem inside the pad opening. So I have to have enough of this to allow to do that. So the bottom of the zipper itself is going to be right in line with that. It's going to sit right there. And then this is going to allow me the fabric to do a rolled hem on the inside. And the way this is this triangle on the head end is going to be sitting right here, and it's going to comes out at an angle like that. So this is what my zipper tape is going to follow to come along and go on this triangle and up over the ridge line and back down to the other side of the hammock. And I'll be able to, as far as knowing how much, as far as getting the zipper tape right, I'm going to start at the end of the zipper tape down at the foot of the hammock and come along to here where it's going to come out. Then I have to know how much zipper tape's I need to leave out of the hammock before I go in the other side. And I'll be able to use this as a guide. I'll measure how long this is, and that's how much zipper tape I'll need out of the hammock, and then go back in at the same angle on the other side. And if I'm right, if I added all my 2 + 2 = 4 and all that good stuff, algebra and geometry and triangulation and psychology, and if all that stuff comes out right, then it'll work perfect. If not, I'm probably just going to sit down and cry for a few minutes. Okay, so I got everything marked. As you can see, I've got the fabrics folded over because it's too long to completely fit on this piece of plastic. And what I got going on now is, so when I measured, it's a 2-inch rolled hem that's on the end of each end of the hammock that the continuous loops go through. I could have just figured, okay, it's 2 inches rolled, and then you roll it again, and so X amount of inches from the end, but that doesn't really count for the thickness of the material and the fold and everything. So before I measured everything, I kind of pin up an actual 2-inch rolled hem, and then I start my measurements from there down. And what I'm going to do is, I forgot. Okay. So what I'm going to do is the zipper tape. It's going to be in between the 2 layers that are sewn in there. And this triangle that's going to go on this end is not curved to meet the tape, because this is the end this is the foot end, and the zipper tape and bug net's going to be sewn to this, and there's going to be a stuff sack underneath this triangle. So when you open up the bug net all the way, you can take it and put it down in this stuff sack underneath this triangle here. So what I'm going to do is this is where the zipper tape's going to start. The end of the zipper tape is going to start there. So I'll take some gross gain and sew on the end here to make like a zipper stop so it doesn't come off, and that will actually be underneath the triangle a little ways, so that if I stop it right at the end, then when you put it all in the stuff sack, you're going to have material hanging here. So I want it to go into the triangle a little bit so that you can get it all in there out of the way. And so that's why I'm starting there. And then all these marks down through here are for stuff like the pull-outs and everything that I've already got made. And what I'm going to have to do is go along this tape starting here, and wherever one of these pull-outs are going to be, I'm going to go ahead and pin it in place. And then that way when I go along and sew, well, actually it'd be like this. That way when I go ahead and sew this first initial row of stitches, this will be in place, and then when I turn it inside out, I mean the hammock is inside out right now, so when I get this initial stitching done, I'll turn it right side out, and then I'll be able to take this and fold it over the fabric, and then sew my 2 rows of stitching down through there. And again, later in the video, it'll make a little bit more sense what I did. So that's what I got to do. I got to take the gross gain, um, sew the end to make a zipper stop so it doesn't come off on you when you're unzipping it, and it'll start here. I got to go through and pin all these things in place on the zipper, and what I'll do is I'll take the pin so it'll be sticking out of the hammock like this as I'm sewing it. So otherwise it's going to be inside the material and I'm not going to be able to get to it. So I can just pull it out as I go along. And then once I get all these pullouts in the right place pinned on the zipper, then I'm going to take this zipper and run it in between the 2 layers of material and then pin the zipper in place. And then everything should be right. And I can go ahead and take this inside and sew that initial row of stitching. And what I'll do is I'll sew this side. This is going to be the bottom, the foot end on the left side as you're laying in it. So I'm going to start on this foot side, and I'll start sewing here. I'll come up to here. This is where there's going to be an opening at. From here to here, it's going to be an opening. It's going to have a pad opening on the other side. And normally that's all you need is that one opening. But this is such a wide material. All this fabric, as it's sagging down, it could be kind of hard to get the pad in place right. So you can come on this opposite corner and stick your arm up there and grab a hold of it and pull it down the rest of the way. That's what this small opening is going to be for. So I'll get the zipper all set in between the 2 fabrics. I'll start sewing. I'll undo this rolled hem, and I'll start sewing. I'll get to the opening. I'll do a little lock stitch, and then I'll start again at the other end of the opening and go along and till I get to the end. And then once I get all that done, then I'll pin the zipper tape to the head end triangle, and then down into the hammock on that side and along, get all that pinned up, and then I'll go do that side. So that's the plan. I still got a little bit of work to do to get this all pinned in, to get this one side ready to go. And then so yeah, there's a lot of work involved in it, just the setup. But if you don't do the setup right, everything's going to be messed up. So it's definitely important to take the time, and what they say, measure twice and cut once. It's really important, especially in this part of the process. Okay, it's all, this side is pinned in, and got the zippers on the inside. You can't see it. I made sure that all the pullouts and everything line up, and tried to use a lot of pins through there, pins and clips. And then up here on this end, this is the head end. Got the zipper. It's going to curve around that angle, and then the rest of the zippers in here in the fabric. So what I'll do is I'll start down here and make a stitch all the way down, putting that zipper tape in there in place, and sewing this half of the hammock together, and double check that. And then it's getting more and more complicated. First thing, the zipper tape is right here. This is the zipper teeth, and it would be nice if I could come. I was thinking I would come along this side and everything would be good, especially here in the corner. I would be able to just come down the end right along the edge there and keep on going. Then I got to realizing that it won't work that way, because I need it on the back side of the zipper teeth. That way when I fold this inside out, I mean, right side out, it'd be correct. And I started to pin it with the teeth facing the wrong way. And so there's a lot of things you got to think like 3 steps ahead of time, ahead of where you're at. And also take into consideration it's inside out. One of the things I just realized is from where it comes out of here, the zipper is going to go sew onto the triangle. Well, that's all going to have to be done in between the 2 layers of the hammock also. And then I'll have to get over here to where it attaches to that side and go back into the hammock seam, and that's all going to have to be done in between the 2 layers. So it's making it really complicated to do this and get the zipper in between the 2 seams. So when you fold it right side out, everything is right. Yeah, it will be worth it in the end when it's all over with. And I just realized I was right originally. I'll be coming along on this side of the zipper, and just a minute ago I said I'd have to go on that inside, but that was wrong. Um, it's hard to, you're looking at the hammock this way, but then trying to imagine what it's going to be like when you turn it inside out. So I double checked, and I will be able to just come right down there and get right along the zipper and follow it down. The mountain fiber on the outside, what will be the outside, is really stiff and real heavy duty material. The the inside is a Hyper D, and it is really soft and everything, and really easy to stretch and stuff. And the color is not doing. That's not the true color in the camera, but it's it's hard. It's hard to sew two completely different types of material together. One of them will want to pull more than the other and everything. And in this situation, uh, I would use my walking foot because that it's more of a chance of it pulling the fabrics together. But I can't do that because I'm gonna have to use the zipper foot to run along the edge of that zipper. So I put a lot of pins in there to try to minimize that, and that's about the best I can do. I'm just gonna have to go slow, and yeah, I'm gonna have to go slow anyway because I do a couple stitches, pull a pin out, do a couple stitches, but see how it turns out. I'm looking forward to getting this one side done just to see where I'm at, make sure everything's working. Plan A is still good. Okay, so I got my zipper foot on, and what I did is there for several inches. I'm going to be sewing from the end down to where I get to the zipper, and I've got this magnetic seam guide in place, and the got it measured out. So when I start the hammock at the end, I keep the edge right along the seam guide, and then as I uh, get to the actual zipper, the needle should be right along the edge of the zipper, and the needle foot and everything, and it should make one nice long straight line that's even all the way down from the end to the zipper. Okay, so I got the initial seam that runs down through here on this side, and I'm going to open up the top here a little bit where it's pinned in to kind of look at how this came around the curve here. I took a sneak peek at the other side to see how it looks, but not the zipper side yet. So this, when I fold it over, you can see it's got the lighting's not great, but I guess you can see that. The 2 different layers of fabric sewn together there. And then what will happen is whenever I get the other side with this initial stitch, I'll fold it down like this and then run 2 rows of stitches, and that way it'll be double-sided. This would be the outside, this would be the inside. Now I gotta take a look at this. Let's see. Okay, so this here is just double checking that. So that's where it comes out, and then the triangle will be sewn on like this. Right here, and then this will come on out around like that, and that's going to leave a pretty gradual little seam there. And I'm looking at the camera now, the lighting's not that great, but yeah, it's going to come out pretty good. Get that sewn. So now what I got to do is I'm going to pin this in place so I know how much of this zipper tape I need. And then where the zipper tape comes out the other side, I'll start the triangle. I'll start pinning it into the other side of the hammock, and then should be good to go. Just pin it in, do the same thing I did to that side, sew that initial stitching in, and once I get that done, then it's going to get a whole lot easier because I got all the measuring and figuring and all that stuff done, and I just got to finish building the hammock. Alright, so this is the hammock so far. The zipper's all the way on, except for the little triangle that goes right there. But what I did was got it between the two layers of material. The zipper is between the inside layer and the outside layer. It would have been a whole lot easier to, just like I said earlier, to take the build the hammock and then just sew this on the outside of it, but I like it a lot better on the inside. And these tie outs here, when I get done with this side, they'll come down like that, and I'll have two rows of stitching on that. And the zippers, I don't know if I can do it one-handed, but zippers work great. Love that. I had some other zippers to start with. They were a number 3 coil zipper, and I switched to a number 5, so I like them better. Yeah, so the triangle, when I have the 2-inch channel put in here, then the triangle will fill in this space, and the edge of it is sew right on through there. As you can see over here, I got the 2 rows of stitching, and that's what I'll do with the other side. So this side is done. I gotta do the 2 rows of stitching down the length of this, and right here, this is the pad opening, and the pad opening will be on the inside of the hammock. That way, when the hammock's nice and tight, you don't have this piece of material flopping in the wind. This would be on the inside. And then I will do like I do with my other pad openings. I'll do a road hem, and on that and on this, so you don't have any material fraying or anything like that. And then I always, at the end of the opening, put a bar tack on there to keep it from ripping and stuff. So yeah, it's this thing is making me work for it, but it's gonna be pretty nice when it gets done. I really think so. So I got left is oh, what did I say? I got 2 rows of stitching down through here. Do the road hem and the pad opening there. Put the triangle on. In channel, 2-inch sewn in channel there, and here. And then I still have to make a triangle for this. And what I did down here is where it stops. I made a zipper stop there, and the actual triangle will come over and cover to about here, so these will zip in there. And then once I get that's all done, then I will have to put the bug net on, drape it over there, cut it to fit, sew it onto the other side of the zipper tape. Then I'll have to make a stuff sack for the bug net that will be up underneath the triangle right here, and then a oh uh, stuff sack for the hammock itself, and then I'll be done. So yeah, it's coming along. It looks bad. It looks bad right now, but just laid out there, all kind of deformed and everything. But it's actually coming along pretty good. Okay, so the hammock, the sides of the hammock are pretty much done. I got the zippers put in, got 2 rows of stitches on there to help hold it in place, and also the tie outs and everything. And got the pad opening done uh, up here to put the pad in, and then down there to stick your arm in to reach to help adjust the pad, get it where you need it. And all I got left to do now for the actual hammock body is I got to do the 2-inch. I got to pin up and sew the 2-inch rolled hems on each end. And once I get that done, I'll put the triangle in place that goes here, and still got to sew a triangle for that. And after that, put all the cordage and everything on, and then sew up a stuff sack for this, a ridgeline organizer, and a stuff sack for the bug net. And I got to pin on the bug net. That's the next big project. Got to get the bug net all pinned on and get it fit right, and then cut it and sew the bug net on, and then make the stuff sack for the bug net, and it'll be done. But next time you see it, it'll start looking like a hammock. All right, I got the end channels sewn that the continuous loop will run through. So now I can get this thing hung up for the first time, and make sure my triangles are going to fit right. And once that's all done, then start working on the bug net. All right, so it's hanging. It's looking like a hammock. This is this corner up here. This is what I was worried about when I was making it, because the way the zipper, when I had it all inside out and sewing it, the way the zipper, I had that little bit of slack coming out of it and then going in the other side, and trying to make sure that the angles were right so that the zipper just curled on around, and also making sure this was right, the right distance. If it was too short, then it'd be really tight and you'd be putting a lot of weight on it, a lot of stress on it. Too loose, it's going to be really sloppy. This is going to be just about right. And so I'm really happy with the way that came out. Got that done. And on this side, yeah, another thing I had to do, yeah, that's what I said, the angle, get the angle right. And then this side is just straight. The hammock, the bug net's going to be sewn to this side, and it's going to unzip. The zippers go up into here and stop right there. And then that way there's going to be a stuff sack in here that will hold the bug net, and that way I can get it back in there farther so it's not hanging out here. But yeah, it's I'm pretty happy with it. I had one shot to get it right, and it got right, so it's pretty nice. Now I gotta take the bug nut material, drape it over the ridge line, start pinning it in place to know where to cut it and everything, and then get it all pinned in, sew that bug net on there, and make the ridgeline organizer, make the stuff sack for the hammock, make the stuff sack for the bug net, and then the way I designed these zipper, well, I didn't design the zippers. I bought some zippers, but the way I did them is there's two on each side, and they're inside or outside. And the way this is going to work is that on either side you could take the zipper and move it, move both of them wherever you want them at on the hammock. So wherever you're laying at, you can position them to where they're easy to reach. Some hammocks with bug nets, they have to go to a certain point, and that to seal them up and to open them, and that might be kind of awkward, stretching a little bit to reach it or whatever. But these you can position them anywhere on the side that you want to. And then when you want to, if you don't want to use the bug net, you take two of these and have them on one side and the other two all the way back here. And then you take one zipper and come all the way around and then go up and over and then come back down. And then the whole bug net will come and fit in the stuff sack. And you could do it from either side. So that's the way I did that. So yeah, it was a lot of work, a lot of figuring and everything, but I got the hard part out of the way. This is the first time until I could get it like this, I didn't know for sure if all this was going to work. The way I did the zipper in between the two materials, and I had to sew it inside out and make sure that this amount of zipper was just right. Got all this done, and until now, I didn't know if it was going to work or not. Well, actually, a little while ago, I pinned the triangles on before I sewed them, before I sewed them on there. So when I pinned them in place, I knew that it was going to work, and I did my little happy dance and sewed them on, and now you can see it. Okay, so I got the hammock bug net pinned to the hammock, and my dog's going crazy in there. But so now I got to cut all the excess material off, leaving about enough room to sew a hem. Once I get this all trimmed, I got to take all the pins out, take it off, hem the hem the bug net, and then from there I have to put it back on the hammock and pin it up again, and then take the zipper tape off as much as I can, and then sew it on in place. Alright, so the bug net's hemmed all the way around, and now I just got to take it and put it back, pin it back to the zipper, and then sew it up. So the next time you see the hammock, it'll have its bug net on it. So I just did the initial stitching down the edge right there. That's focusing on my finger. So this was where I hemmed it, and then this stitch is what I just did. And then now I'm doing a zigzag stitch across it to just reinforce it, make it a little bit stronger. Alright, so this is pretty much finished hammock. I still gotta make a stuff sack for the hammock and a stuff sack that's gonna go down in here for the bug net. Gotta finish them. And the way this bug net works is there's two zippers on each side. You can position them anywhere you want to along the hammock. They'll go all the way up, all the way down. And what you want to do if you don't want to use the bug net, you take, there's two zippers on each side, put start with all four of them at the foot end, and then bring one, you can do it from either side, but bring one all the way up and over. So now you'll have three on this side and one on that side. Like I said, you could do it either way. Now the bug net will come off. Well, not off completely. It's sewn onto this end, the foot end. But there will be a stuff sack down in here. You can put this in and get it out of your way. And then when you want to use it again, just pull it back out and zip it up. It's got a pad opening here for just put a sleeping pad in, and since it's such a wide, it's over 70 inches wide and 11.5 foot long. So since it's so long, on the opposite corner I put a small pad opening so you could reach your arm down in there and help adjust it because there's so much fabric in there. You can grab the pads on that side too. And it's got tie outs. It's got a pair of tie outs on the head end and on the foot end, so you can sleep head left, feet right, or head right, feet left, and just switch the tie outs depending on which way you want to sleep. And that's it. It came out pretty nice. I gotta do, like I said, the stuff sacks and look at see if there's any other fine little details that I might have missed out on or whatever. And just like the two zippers over there work, where you can adjust them, start and stop them anywhere you want to. It's the same thing on this side. There's two zippers here, and you can start and stop them wherever you want. So it's nice if you need to just reach out and grab something. You can do that without having to get out of your, because some hammocks only have zippers on one side, or some hammocks have zippers on both sides, but they meet at a certain point, and it might be kind of a reach to get to or whatever. But with these zippers, you can set them wherever you want to, and pretty good setup. The zippers are really nice. They're number 5 zippers, and work really easily. I'm happy. I was really worried. You know, I call this the math hammock. It was all about, could I get this in between the layers and know exactly how much zipper tape I needed before I went in back in the other side. And that worked out perfect. It's kind of loose there, just enough so that it doesn't put extra tension on the bug net and everything. That's it. Oh, and the stuff sack it's going to have is one of our buckle bags. And if you don't know what kind of stuff sack that is, you can look at our YouTube channel, and there's a video describing it.